Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Will on Safety. It's time for another Toolbox Talk Tuesday. In today's Toolbox Talk, we're going to cover mental health. It's a subject that really isn't discussed enough, although workplaces are getting better at understanding mental health, identifying those employees that might be suffering from mental health issues, and they're also getting better at dealing with helping employees that may well be suffering to make their lives a bit easier, to get them through whatever difficult time they're currently going through. So what makes workers vulnerable then? There's a whole host of different reasons people succumb to mental health issues. Some of the reasons I'm going to just highlight going through now. The list isn't exhaustive though, so there are many other reasons. Notwithstanding the COVID epidemic which we've just gone through. So you may well work in roles that are by their very nature isolating roles. Maybe you have to work alone, maybe you're a lone worker. Maybe you just feel isolated due to the fact that you're now having to work from home when before you would have been working in an office environment and having that interaction with your friends, colleagues, co-workers, etc. The type of employment you're employed in may well be dependent on the economy. As we know now, that there's things going on globally, which has put the sort of global economy into a bit of a spin and a bit of a mess. So that may well cause a bit of extra stress that wasn't there before. Spending large amounts of time away from family and friends. It's not going to affect everybody, but there are certainly some of those industries and some people that work in roles that there's just a large amount of travel. And you're away from family for extended periods of time. A good example of this would be the construction industry. Maybe you've got a project in a different county or a different state or a different country, whatever it might be. Chronic pain caused by manual labour. If you're in a manual trade, maybe you've been doing it for a number of years, and maybe you've got some pains associated with that type of work. If that's the case, as you age and as you do it for more and more years, that could potentially progressively get worse, and that can make you vulnerable to mental health too. Stress due to time constraints, work environment and poor sleep. Poor sleep, sometimes people due to stress can suffer from things like different sleeping disorders where they might not be able to sleep, or the sleep that they are getting is broken. Time constraints at work, that's something we've all had to manage, I'm sure, in every industry. Sometimes unnecessary, time frames and things are placed on us just because there's deadlines and things. So that can put extra stress on us and make us more vulnerable to mental health issues. Use of alcohol and mood altering drugs to sort of cope and manage your mood. It goes without saying, we shouldn't be drinking excessively, and we certainly shouldn't be taking any sort of illegal substances or even abusing prescribed type substances because of the way we're feeling. If we are down, if we are depressed, if we are suffering from certain mental health issues, it's mega important that you speak to your friends, family, work colleagues, let your employer know, and get that help you need. Be that from the doctor's surgeries or the hospital or whoever you need to approach to obtain that additional support. Stigma of mental illness encourages secrecy and isolation. It used to, like I said at the beginning of this Toolbox talk, workspaces, different employers are getting much better at identifying if there's any issues in the workplace, identifying individuals that may well, be under extra stresses, be that workplace stresses, home life stresses, or anything else. They're getting better at identifying the warning signs, and they're also getting better at providing help and support, managing workloads, putting you in touch with the people that are able to help you. The list can go on and on, but we just wanted to just give you a couple of key points of what could make a worker vulnerable, to having a mental health issue. You don't have to be a mental health nurse or worker to help somebody that's struggling. In the same regard, you don't have to be a mental health worker or nurse to identify somebody that is having a mental health issue and needs help. We're going to cover a few warning signs, things to look for, in your employees, in your work colleagues. And if you do identify some of these warning signs, if you like, sort of the first step, I would say, is just go and have a talk to them. Are you all right? How's things at home? You look a bit down. Would you like to talk about it? Don't force conversation, but just sort of leave the door open and let people know, that you're there if they want to talk to you. Sometimes leaving that door open, they'll come and speak to you about stuff, and you can then try and put some help in place for your colleagues or your employees. So some of the warning signs, talking about self-harm. Obviously, if people are talking about self-harm, there's an issue there. So we need to just make sure when we're listening to our employees and our work colleagues, we're actively listening, okay? So we're really hearing what they're saying. And if we do hear them talking about self-harm, let's just start a conversation with them. Let's get to the bottom of why they're feeling the way they're feeling. Like I say, don't force conversation. Just ask them how they're doing. Let them know if they need to talk about anything. You're there. Self-criticism and self-hatred. Yeah, that's another warning sign. Withdrawing from others. So you may well have a colleague that's normally really engaged, is involved in everything, and all of a sudden maybe they're, maybe they've started withdrawing. Maybe they're not as engaged anymore. Maybe where you'd normally expect them to excel and be in the centre of conversations, that isn't happening anymore. That can be a warning sign. Self-destructive behaviour. Any sort of self-destructive behaviour points to somebody's having a bit of a crisis. So that's a key one to look out for. No hope for the future. If conversations and things start veering towards, they don't believe they've got a future, there's no hope, things aren't going to improve, and that type of thing, we should be listening for those warning signs. Decreased productivity. Yeah, maybe you've had an employee, or maybe one of your co-workers is normally, smashing those sales numbers, or getting a amount of work done, and all of a sudden, the productivity is just taking a nosedive. It can point to some external issues. Again, just approach the conversation openly. Don't force any conversations, but just ask those open questions. Are you all right? How's things at home? How's the family? If they want to talk to you, make sure you actively listen to what they're saying. Identify where you may be able to help, and put that help in place. If they don't want to talk to you, again, don't force it. They might talk about being a burden, a burden to the rest of the workforce, a burden to their family. Again, if that type of conversation is being overheard, or they're talking about those kind of subjects to you, it might be time to just try and point them in the right direction of some help. Extreme mood swings. Yeah, somebody might be happy-go-lucky. We're human beings. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're a little bit in between. But if they're, if those mood swings are just wild, so like you're happy, 1 minute, and then, you're nearly in a punch up the next, or you just go super aggressive, that really is an issue. As an employer, don't just see these warning signs as bad behaviour that needs to be punished. It's about getting to the root cause of why something's happening. So it might not just be, that they're having a bad day. We all don't know how each other's lives are going. So make sure you get to the root cause of why any individuals are acting the way they are. And if it is due to a sort of excess stress, and maybe they're having a mental health episode, it's really, really important that we don't punish those folks. We try and help them. Especially if somebody's been super productive and everything else, it might have took a nosedive. There's an issue. It's not just because they've just decided one day they don't want to work. If they're having extreme mood swings, maybe have a conversation with them, sit them down, try and find out the root cause of what's causing those mood swings. Maybe there's something as an employee you might be able to do. Maybe give them some compassionate leave to sort out whatever issue they've got. Or, just to give them that sort of space to try and sort their heads out. But it's really, really important we try and find the root cause of any issues. Increased tardiness and absenteeism. Again, absenteeism, you might well know colleagues in the workforce, and they are quite absent from time to time. But if it's somebody, for example, that is just never off work and then all of a sudden doesn't show up for 2 or 3 days, there's an issue. So we need to follow up with that individual. Again, don't try and force anything, because it could feel then that you're putting extra stress on, and that might just be enough to tip them over the edge and do something silly. So keep everything, super, super open, and just try and get to the root cause. Talk to them about how you as an employer can help them get over the rough patch they're currently going through. We'll talk about a couple of prevention tips. So don't ignore it. Speak up if you're worried. Obviously, if you're suffering from depression or anything else, it might be very difficult for you to do. You might not be in the right headspace to speak up. But if you can, just talk to a friend, And if you're an employee and you see one of your co-workers that's really struggling, and you've got some concerns because it's just mega out of character, and you think it needs to be looked into, don't ignore it. Speak up. Show your concern that you've noticed they're acting differently, and just inquire, are you all right? How are things at home? Are you stressed with work? Is there anything I can do to help you? Being open and not sort of, why have you been absent for 3 days? If you're open and just try and let them talk to you about stuff. Open questions lead to much more detail in responses, and you can glean a lot of information about, you know, what might be in the background that's causing this behaviour. So just show your concern. Again, keep it open, keep it friendly, just show them that you're trying to help them. Ultimately, that's what we want to do. Respond quickly if you believe your friend or co-worker is in a crisis. If you think there's a mental health crisis going on and you think they might do something silly, self-harm or worse, respond quickly. Let your managers and supervisors know, and you might need to you have to be quite careful about your response, but definitely let your superiors know that you think there's an issue, and they need to try and have that open conversation with your friend or co-worker. Offer them help and support. There's nothing better than a shoulder to cry on, and the age-old saying goes, a problem shared is a problem halved. Just let them know, if you want to talk, I'm here for you. Come and talk to me. There'll be no judgment here. Just get whatever you need to off your chest. Sometimes that can help just to bring them down from a high point of crisis just onto a more settled level. And call the suicide prevention hotlines or sort of crisis text services for ideas to help your co-worker. These agencies have great ideas. They have a lot of experience in how to best help somebody in crisis. Also, if you're having a conversation with your friend or co-worker, and they say that they're having a lot of problems and they're in the middle of a bit of a mental health crisis, just point them in the direction of those helplines. Let them know the number for the Samaritans, etc., and just try and gently encourage them to call them, let them know that you're there to talk, and that's all you can really do. Like I say, workplaces are getting a lot better now at identifying mental health issues and helping support people that are in mental health crisis. So if you can, and you're suffering yourself, speak to your friends, speak to your family, speak to your employer, let them know that you're having an issue, because they should be able to make arrangements to try and take some of the additional stress or additional workload from you. So that's really, really important. But yeah, that's it. In the workplace, just please make sure you look after your friends and co-workers. If you do notice any of the warning signs, just try and have that open conversation with them. Let them know you're concerned. They've been acting a little bit differently. Are things okay at home, at work, with themselves? Have those conversations and just try and help. If you are concerned, raise it to a supervisor or a manager, and sort of get them to try and intervene and put some measures in place to try and help that individual the best they can. But that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, it's free to do, and hit the notification bell. If you hit the notification bell, every time I upload, you'll get a notification to say there's new content on the channel. I try and post 2 videos a week. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying the channel. Please tell your co-workers, friends, family about the channel. Get the channel shared and hopefully help me help the channel grow. But until next time, remember folks, safe by choice, not by chance. Take care. See you next time. Bye.